Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
We are proposing a little different format and some changes that we did last time, so we actually have a lot to talk about, and I hope it's a very interactive process with your board. So once again, it seems like time flies when you're having fun, but back in July of 23 is when we adopted the county's first strategic plan with this setup, and we had the strategic plan framework, which has our purpose, direction, and values, and that's kind of what we use to steer the ship on kind of what direction we're going and what we're prioritizing. And then shortly after we adopted the strategic plan that had your board's top priorities in it, we had our first, what we called the priorities report and our workshop in January of 24. So here we are at January of 25 to take another fresh look at that and be the third touch point for those priorities. So we want this to be forward facing. We do have the strategic plan online. We have the original plan from back in 23, which is that first blue box. The highlights, that was the presentation that Mr. Mallon did when he presented the strategic plan to your board, and last year's priorities report. And shortly after today, we hope to have a fourth blue box on there showing what the current priorities report is with the updated priorities. You've seen this graphic before. This was our strategic plan pillars. This is everything that the county does that we try to fit in one of these. You'll notice we did a little rebranding and a recoloring of our original graphic. Definitely have the new county theme and county logo and colors into it. Thanks to Cassie of your PIO team that assisted me with doing all the different rebranding on both the priorities report and the presentation. But everything that we're doing falling into services, the communication, engagement, and outreach, the growth and development, or our county government's operations and culture, anything we're doing should fit within one of these pillars. And that is included in the strategic plan. So kind of how we get through the strategic plan and down to your priorities. Strategic plan always starts really big, wide, our vision, our goals, our objectives. We have those opportunities within the plan. Those break down to milestones, which are kind of our longer term goals. We included deliverables and priorities in the plan, and that's how that graphic kind of narrows down and gets us down to those top priorities. Now, all of our 900 hardworking employees are doing their regular duties every day, our mandated responsibilities. None of that goes away. This just really gets down to what is going to get the most attention, the most resources, and our prioritization, because we do what we do every day, and our employees do it very well, but what's going to get the most of our attention versus something else, and that's where we drill down to the priorities. That's where your board got down to in July of 2023. So here we are back at our second workshop, which is really exciting. Here are what we're supposed to do at this workshop. Looking at those priorities and giving an update, which is included in your priorities report that you received that information on. So different things on the list. One of my favorite ones, celebrate completions. We actually got something done. That's always an exciting one. The priorities report does check on the status of things and gives an update. We might want to add a priority. There can always be some new hot topic issue that's come up in the year that we didn't know about, have to put something in there. We do update on the milestones on a few things out of the report. And as we're going to do today, revise or remove a priority. We did a significant revision of the priorities because this is our second year into them. We did a little retooling and some wordsmithing, but you'll see they're in the same vein and the same spirit of what we originally had in the priorities report. 10 is always the targeted number. We don't want to make it too big because then it becomes impossible, but that's just a general guideline. And that's really what drives our budget process that comes through the county administrator's office. When somebody asks for something, how does it fit in one of our top priorities? Those requests should include that, and anything we consider, we'll also look at those priorities as well, because everything is limited by time, availability, and resources. That feeds directly into your budget process. So we don't get to this point in a vacuum. There's a lot of input that gets up to this point. We have our monthly department head meeting where all of us department heads get together and talk about anything and everything going on in the county. Mr. Mallon has his one-on-one with department heads every month. They talk about specifically everything that's going on with those department heads. We have our budget process that goes from February till September in multiple parts. We get a lot of feedback through that. And then we also have our annual leadership meeting we just had in December. get all of our management team together. We talked a lot about the strategic plan this year and accountability, and that feeds into it. Your board also enjoys and receives those quarterly updates from the agencies. All the different shops talk about what's going on and important in their departments. And then we also get a flurry of information from CSAC, RCRC, our legislative platform, all the memos and different things your board receives as well. And that says what should our priorities be. So we kind of take all that stuff in, and we look at the existing priorities, and we've recommended a few revisions to the priorities that we'll go over one priority at a time with your board. So this is a little bit how the priorities kind of go through the washing machine, if you will, through the process. Here we are in the upper right, January, February. We're working at reviewing and updating those priorities. That kind of feeds into your budget process that goes in through February through April. As we meet with departments, they submit their budget requests, we approve their budget requests, and ultimately bring the budget to your board with CAO recommendations. Always working towards till June. Our staff will definitely say it's all budget all the time, going up to when we get to a proposed budget adoption in June to get us off for the fiscal year. And then July through December, working on implementing those things that came out of those priorities. You'll find that most of our priorities are multi-year objectives, so they will go around this process multiple times because they are tall orders and heavy items. Very little of it is things we're going to adopt or accomplish in 1 year. So you'll see them go through probably a couple times at least for most of them. So something I'm very proud of this year is our priorities report. We did this one time before, and if you compare last year's report to this year's report, you're going to see a whole new flavor, whole new layout. They are substantially different. I'm very happy with the new output of that. You'll see on page 1 of the new report, the priorities, they're page 1 front and center. I wanted to make that kind of the cover page because that tells you exactly what's top of our list on what we're going to be working on. Contained within the report, you'll see that there's status updates and next steps, kind of just tells you what's going on, what is the most important information, and more importantly, should your constituents ask your board about what's going on with those items, you have an update. One of my favorite parts of it is what we call a priority owner. It's a staff email with a hyperlink. So if you need more information, your constituents need information, it says specifically, individually, who in the county, who you need to ask for. You can click on that. It'll take you right to their email. You can shoot them an email and say, I'd like more information. Again, the priorities report, the last one and the one to be adopted will be available on the website. And we are very happy with the revised format. You'll see last year we had about 4 symbols when we started this, and now we've kind of evolved to 6, and we've kind of evolved a little bit on, when we wrote the first report, we weren't really sure how it was going to evolve. So now we have some different symbols saying it's pending, start, initiating, implementing, complete, revision, or new. So you'll see a lot this year. The revision to priority, we basically touched about every single. There's been some wordsmithing that's gone on that we think actually clarifies the priority and is a little bit more reflective on what we're thinking is going on, but it's definitely in the same vein of the original priority. So this is going to kind of be your first opportunity for your board to chime in. This is our first priority, a little bit of the layout as is in the priorities report. Here in the light gray on top, here's what the report used to say as far as that priority for service delivery. So your top portion is what the priority under service delivery was with your board the last 2 cycles, both when you adopted the strategic plan and also when you reviewed it last year. And below you'll see here's what we are recommending and proposing for your board's consideration as a revision to the priority. Again, looking at all that input that we took from that process and figuring out, okay, this needs a little massaging to say what we're really reflective of our efforts and where we're going with that priority. Again, very much so in the same vein, but a little rephrasing to kind of capture the spirit of what we're working on. So definitely with that, that's where I'd like to hear some questions, comments from your board. We have a slide for each one of the priorities for consideration as we go through the list. So with that, I'd definitely be open to any questions right now on the presentation on this specific priority or anything in this process.
I don't have any questions.
Through the chair, I see this as an opportunity maybe where we could also mention that, I mean, this is the efforts to make things easier for the public. So maybe have it to where when the public calls in, they don't get routed somewhere else from department to department. Maybe we could have, if somebody calls in to the dog pound and says, I have a dead animal that needs cleaned up, they don't give them 3 other numbers to call. Maybe the county, it could be our policy that we facilitate the level up from there. But This is all good for the technology, making things easier, more efficient. But I still think we get a lot of people that get confused when they call in because they get pointed in a different direction and they just give up. They won't call the next department.
If I'm capturing that correct, Supervisor House, may be something to be that we have the warm, something along the line of a warm handoff with, if we have people that are calling the wrong shops, they need to be directed somewhere else. That may be one. This priority was definitely going towards the automation with online options as convenience for people to do things at home. But I think we could probably put something together for as far as directing people to the right resources. We'll probably put something together.
Through the chair, Public Works has a problem complaint area that they can go to that will give them a number where they show it's been sent to the Public Works area. That not too many people that I have on Facebook use it. They want somebody else to do it. But you've got hyperlinks in there that would get them to the different departments. So, a lot of it's, they just don't want to use it. The problem thing, we've got sprinklers on the park they complain about. You've got overgrowths and that on the walls, and all they have to do is enter that in there and send it to Public Works, and they'll take care of it. It gives them an audit trail. You give them a number, and you can go back up there anytime and check on status.
If I could, through the chair. So if I'm kind of picking up on this theme, we're definitely trying to use technology to improve efficiencies, right? But at the same time, we don't want to lose that personal touch. And we want to make sure, and I think Sean will get into it in one of our other priorities, that yes to Yuba mindset, which really I think will drive home what we want to do from an employee development standpoint to make sure people are thinking through when they're interacting with that customer, how to get their question answered, right? And instead of just passing it on to, giving them 3 numbers to call. But the warm handoff, as John mentioned. So this one was kind of focused on technology and enhancing that service delivery through technology. But there's definitely another one that I think touches on what Supervisor House is after as far as making sure we don't just pass the public around and we make sure that their questions are addressed.
That may be under organizational culture, I think. I mean, just looking at the list here.
Yes, and workforce development.
Supervisor House, if I could, through the chair, under the service efficiency portion of that objective, I believe within the priorities plan, we could talk about next steps about a warm handoff process, proper direction, making sure people get to the right information, something along that vein. We can include it within the spirit of the priority as written under the service efficiency portion. Sure that's specifically called out in the next steps of that.
Through the chair, appreciate that. And anytime we can get multi-tiered support, it works a lot better. So yeah, there are the people that can just get on the phone and go to an app and report it, but there's still going to be the people up in the foothills and out and about that don't have that ability. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Anything else on this item?
Comments on that priority from the board?
No. Working good. Great.
So I'll save the speech, kind of the same flavor for that again. Old on top, new on the bottom. This one definitely was a revision. Last time around, we focused more on just revenue enhancement. We definitely went much broader this time around, changing it to more comprehensive economic development, looking at just the revenue piece of it. So a little bit of the explanation on kind of how it evolved and kind of went bigger, broader, but definitely other efforts that will feed into this.
There's a lot of areas that yes to Yuba fills. They're right on top of things or whenever I ask any.
just a comment. I really like this. I mean, trying to get more jobs, and clearly our community wants more retail as well. So looking at that focus through the lens of the general plan update is great.
Franchising, so bring their checkbook.
Through the chair, definitely this one, revenue development is such a piece of the economic development, especially for the county administrator's office as far as budget goes. New business, expanding business, growing businesses, that relates direct to the bottom line. That is important to make sure that we keep growing. Absolutely. No questions on that? Moving on. Here's our one on safety again, old and new. Not as significant as revision on that, but definitely just a little bit of wordsmithing, clarification on where the sheriff doing a great job with that. EA.
Code enforcement.
And code enforcement, definitely.
Through the chair, I just, on this too, I'd like to see, I'm sure everybody already told you this, but the efforts that we have to report crimes or code enforcement issues, we should probably have a lot more promotion of that publicly, just so people know what app or what website or what phone number to call, and encourage the reporting too.
Through the chair, I think we could definitely add that into the considerations and next steps for that. Maybe some public information outreach on different tools that are available to make sure the proper information is getting to shops to deal with those potential problems.
Yeah, you know, if they shift some of the forms to the main page of the Yuba County website, instead of having the code enforcement, and I think the problem form should be on the first page so they don't have to go through there. Those are fairly obvious things that gives an easier way to do things, because people are basically lazy if they have to go to another area.
If I could, through the chair, maybe to provide an example of what Supervisor House is talking about. I believe our Sheriff's Department, right after the passage of Prop 36, engaged with the businesses on those primary commercial corridors so that they understood that the laws have changed, and maybe in the past they hadn't been reporting, certain thefts because they feel like there wasn't going to be any prosecution. Now there's going to be prosecution. So the Sheriff's Department went out and proactively made sure the businesses were aware of those changes and who to report to,
Yeah, I think it's kind of easier for a city to communicate with its whole municipality, right, than it is, or all of its citizens, than it is for us. But our community events, there should be information available at all of them, barcodes to scan, whatever, QR codes, handouts that have, handouts for this guy that just show the phone number or the website to go to. Just different, again, tiered areas of support.
Sean, just a question about this slide. Clearly, the first one there we completed, right? We increased visibility of law enforcement. The second one is also marked complete, but that's something that we want to do moving forward. Am I misunderstanding the way the slide's laid out?
Yeah, that one should actually be more just kind of ongoing.
Okay.
I wouldn't actually mark that one complete, but those are just going to be sustained ongoing efforts. I think definitely we were looking at all commercial corridors in this, whereas we've definitely had some focus areas before. So now definitely want to be all encompassing in it. Just make sure we're hitting everything in it. Also could definitely include some of that, maybe some website clarity on how to do that with the reporting, and also promotion, basically how to get in touch with those shops a little easier. There's some outreach.
If I could, Chair, I think you noticed, so our icon I think we have the wrong one there.
Yeah.
It should be the ongoing, not the checkbox.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Through the chair, lot of the projects that we complete, I've got 8 boards in the back of my car, the different projects that we have going on, and people don't know about those things. And if we had a link on the front page where it says new projects in the different areas, it might save a lot of questions about what we're doing, because, you know, I put up these things and they say, never heard about that. And they're funded things for sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks throughout the entire county in different areas. And we're coming up with this, the South County project. And if you just put something up there that says this is what we're working on, and we'll let you know as things progress, it just gives them an area to go to find out really what we're doing. Because you couldn't fit all the projects you got going on one page.
Through the chair, definitely we include that in the priorities report. Each of the respective priorities says a lot what's going on with individual projects, but we do not have that succinct area as kind of a stop shop for that. So it's definitely something else we could look at.
Well, sometimes they don't even want to hit the space bar.
I would like to say one thing to the chair on the increasing the positive impact on law enforcement and code enforcement. I actually have somebody now complaining that code enforcement is doing too good of a job. So I've invited that constituent to come here to the board, and I said, would you please come and let the rest of the board members know that the code enforcement is getting things done too quickly. So
Are they cultivating little green plants?
no. It's a great, nice guy up there, and I've talked to him quite a bit on what they do and how they do it, and invited him to go on a ride along with the crew, and he refused that. But I asked him if he could please come in here and let you guys know that our code enforcement team's actually doing a really efficient, doing such an efficient job that they're getting complaints that they're getting things done too quickly. So
It's amazing.
I'd let you guys know that.
It's good.
If I could definitely capture the board's input on that, definitely with keeping it in the as phrased, but with some of those other focus areas in there. Questions on that one, suggested revisions or input? That definitely was a revision and ongoing. So this was the one where kind of our infrastructure went through. It's definitely one of our longer priorities, but we kind of went general before, and then looking more specific. So a little bit of flavor how the revision went, but it is some of those larger efforts we're working on specifically, plus everything else we still continue to work on to make substantial infrastructure improvements in the county.
Not to make it too wordy, but do we anticipate construction in the 25, 26 timeframe for the next phase of Goldfields Parkway?
Supervisor, I'm going to have to phone a friend on that one. Sam Button from Public Works.
I believe we are trying to go out to bid on that.
If we do anticipate that.
Is that correct, Sam? Are we going to go out to bid 25, 26?
Good afternoon to the board. So to answer the question on Goldfields Parkway, we did rough grade it with the big East Side Interceptor, the drainage project we did right next to it. We are also applying for LPP funds, which we haven't heard back from yet, hoping to get some grant funding for that. Not trying to push it off, but if we're able to get grant funding, then we can use the development impact fees for other projects as well. So we would like to, and we're hopeful in the next year or two, but we are hoping that we can capitalize on some grant funding to do that. So we don't have a confirmed start date for that, but we are trying to get it done as quick as we can. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I could, through the chair, you'll notice that it got a little longer, and in the center of this priority, it says, while coordinating efforts across all county departments. As we talk through it as a department head group, we recognize that it is a team effort. We're going to have I mean, so Sam's team is trying to deliver over $100 million in grant-funded projects over the next few years. And that means he's going to need the whole county team behind Public Works to help out with that. You're definitely going to need county counsel's office, our office, even down to cash flow, making sure that the county is able to have the cash available to pay our monthly payments to the contractors as they go through that. And then seeking the reimbursement on these grants. So there's a heavy lift for the whole organization as we try to deliver these public works projects over the next few years.
There's a recent grant change, if I understand it correctly, from the White House yesterday. Is that going to be impacting our incoming grants? Will it be putting a halt to seeking new grants?
Do you want me to try to?
Yeah, I was going to say this is the president's directive to have federal agencies review the grants by February 10th, I believe. Right? Is that the?
All grants are stopped, is my understanding.
Right. They're suspended while there's a review.
And so to elaborate on that a little bit, to Kevin's point about the project, so Kevin, if you don't mind me mentioning, we'll have West Linda, the Olivehurst projects, which that's 75-ish million by itself, going in 2027 as well as the interchange. So starting in 2026, the cash flow is definitely going to be a challenge. But the good news is most of our big projects, so West Linda and Olivehurst, that's state funding. So we're just proceeding business as usual as of right now. The interchange, which is federally funded, we won't need the money until 2026. So hopefully all this gets worked out before then. So we're not quite stressed out about it yet, but definitely keeping an eye on it to see where that goes. Luckily, it checked all the boxes and it doesn't seem to have some of the issues that the federal government has brought up as being concerns for some of those grants. So we're hopeful that all of that will get worked out prior to needing the funds for that one, but we are keeping an eye on it.
And then can the state revoke the grants that are state funded?
So I guess trying to think of the best way to, there's always things that they can do in the grant agreements for obligations that we have or requirements. So I guess they always have the ability to pull back funding depending on what's going on. But luckily, those have already been allocated and authorized. So we feel pretty confident with those funds right now.
And through the chair, I know there's a lot of things going on in the populated areas, but out District 10, after the highway widening and the grade changes, there's lots of people that are running their own pumps just to drain their properties and burning fuel and incurring costs. So I'd like to see something more broad. Yeah, this is very targeted. So I'd like to see something more broad where we could support existing homeowners and their drainage needs, because there's a huge need for that in the north part of the county, especially after recent construction.
So that's something, I guess I'm trying to figure out how best to react to that, because we definitely, you're right, we focused on drainage in the urban areas, but in the rural areas, that's something that hasn't really been a priority or a target priority.
Yeah, and so this one does specifically, to help you out a little bit, does call out Linda Olivehurst. Although it's not listed as a priority, we do have a county or basically outside of the urbanized area culvert inventory project where we're going to be analyzing all the culverts within the rural community to also kind of show some love outside of the urban environments where we're doing a lot of the work. So I guess we can all chat about the wording of this priority, but we have been, at least at the Public Works level, trying to find every grant we can to improve drainage outside of those areas as well.
Through the chair. Yeah, I've had interactions with people in the Laurellan track, on Silva, a couple of different places throughout, not Saddleback because it's pretty well planned, but there's a lot of places that were affected, drainage going the opposite direction than what it used to because of the highway widening. So it's pretty urgent.
Awesome. I'll be around if there's any more questions. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Sam.
Through the chair, if I could maybe suggest a slight modification to that priority without wordsmithing it too much. When we talk about sidewalk and drainage improvements, maybe adding a comma and then specifically Linden Olivehurst. That way that would allow drainage improvements to still be a focus elsewhere in the county. Don't think sidewalks are going to go out there, but definitely that would give us the flexibility to focus drainage countywide.
Put an asterisk with Tom McCorder's address.
Certainly fine with me. Is that consensus from the board?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so we have noted that change for that priority. All right, no questions. Off to the next one. Definitely one the county administrator's office was spending a great deal of time on. Definitely a multi-year process. Definitely not going to be checking that one off quite soon, but still those efforts continue. And we did do a little bit of just some word modification of that one, being reflective of what our current efforts are.
Through the chair, are we looking at bringing it in-house at all within Yuba County?
Maybe Kevin can speak to that, but I don't know that we're far enough along in the evaluation yet to determine that. Is that?
Yeah, if I could through the chair, that's where I was going to go. So this is really the assessment phase to kind of assess the capabilities of the way it's currently organized with the bi-county arrangement, and then determine what, how's moving forward, is it best to have the same governance structure, a different governance structure? And then from a service delivery standpoint, is it best to have one entity that provides all these services? Maybe it's better to contract out some of the services. And so that'll all be part of the assessment. We'll analyze all of that and then we'll bring it back to the board with some recommendations.
Because before we didn't have any audits or any idea what was being spent in there. In the large book, they finally put something down there. I don't know if you had a chance to check the figures to see whether they're accurate or not, but at least we have some idea of what they think they've given us.
Right. This is well over 50 years of behavioral health history where we've had a joint county operation, and it's going to. I'm not going to say it's going to take another 50 years to get it sorted out, but it's going to take a couple of years to get this sorted out.
There's a lot of things now that we could do ourselves that we couldn't do before. That's I think that's one of the areas.
So any other comments or questions on that priority?
I do have one comment on that. So the measure or Proposition 1 that passed changed a lot of things at the beginning of this year or in March of this year. So I think the lay of the landscape for the behavioral health world is going to change quite a bit. And so, I mean, I'm happy that we're evaluating if we can have a county-run program, an individual county, because our county differs so much than Sutter County does in its needs and its even the location of the facilities, being most of them in Yuba City, kind of makes it tough on the people from Linda and Oliver's to get over there. But there's huge changes, things like required funding for homelessness instead of behavioral health and mental health and drug treatment. And so they're changing all their budgets over there. So I think you're probably going to have a lot of work to do on assessing where we even currently are and where we're headed with the current system. So thank you for doing the work. And I don't know who's all involved with that, but it's a lot of changes in 1 year, a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, even though I kind of inherited ownership of this priority, it is definitely a team effort. So you have obviously it's amazing how many different departments are affected by behavioral health services, and all of them are stakeholders in this process as we assess.
Thank you for those comments, and on to the next. So again, the social services, again, some slight retooling in the vein of kind of what we're working on, the direction we're going with, made that one a little bit longer, but old and new.
Through the chair, the facility at the Sheriff's Department for mental health, where is that? What's the status on that? Are we working on staffing it, or?
Yeah, so specific to the jail medical expansion project, that is anticipated to be done this calendar year. It should be, when I say done, it'll be ready for for occupancy perimeter. I don't know if you want to, maybe it's worth giving the board just a quick update on the timeline on that. But you have the contractor saying it's ready for occupancy, and then making sure that it's truly ready for the sheriff's department to begin operating on it. And then for next fiscal year's budget, that is going to be part of the discussion, making sure we have the staffing to be able to open that expanded area.
Yeah, we'll have occupancy by June 30th of this year.
Wow.
And then there'll be
Amazing
a
what we've
transition
got going.
period.
It's amazing what we've done past year.
There has been
Very
a lot.
much tell the crew that did that.
It really helps when we get the funding to do these projects. Any other questions? Thank you.
Any other questions on that one? Moving on. Again, natural resources and our access, kind of added the public health aspect in there, and kind of goes along the veins with the blue zone. And, it's a very important to HHS. And again, looking at expanding that one a little bit, and also we shifted that one over to the county administrator's office as well. So simply as word, that's just been a touch point with everything we're working on with river access and things like that. So definitely in the same spirit of where we started, but slightly retooled and evolved. Even touched on that this morning at this morning's board session. So. Any questions or comments on the revision to that priority? All right. On that. Definitely one near and dear to my heart, and as long with human resources as well, our workforce development. And this one has evolved a little bit. I'm definitely incorporating, consolidating that with our Yes to Yuba mindset and getting that into how we do things daily with our workforce.
Through the chair, I've had experience with people who still are not aware that we have a trade school here. One of the Union Trade School is the next closest school in Northern California is in the Bay Area, Dublin. So it's a plus for having a union trade school here. And we need to put it on the front page that, you're looking for trades, and put their phone number on it. Because there's so many jobs out there for tradesmen that are not being met.
Through the chair, I would just like to mention that we probably should have Yes to Yuba collaborate. It should be mentioned that they're going to collaborate with existing committees and commissions on this, because there's so many different trade schools, CTE programming. They're all pulling in different directions. So Marysville Joint has their own, Yuba County Office of Ed has their own, Yuba College has their own, and they're just starting to meet together to coordinate different trainings. And so we're not holding a welding class at the same time as they're holding a welding class at Yuba College, or we're not all trying to start heating and air conditioning classes and split up all the students that apply. So I think it should mention collaboration with existing forces.
So just to clarify with Kevin and Sean, I think that this priority is about county workforce development, not county as in county employee workforce development, not county as in county resident workforce development.
It says countywide, that's why.
Okay. Yeah, but that does bring up a good point for the board. Right now, we are focusing on how to make sure we have a well-trained workforce within the county government. But there is this twofold, because we also want to make sure we're growing a workforce in our community as well. And so that would be a bit of a different flavor than what we're focused on here, but that's definitely something we could look at as a priority. It maybe as its own standalone priority, or are something that I'm not sure if it would integrate into this particular priority.
Through the chair, I think if I was going to fit that the way of existing, definitely appreciate the comments on the trades and the ability to replenish that workforce. I think that would fit nicely within the economic development. We're promoting schools and employment opportunities here in the county. I think that would fit within that, both promoting the resources that we have and looking to attract businesses if we have those types of opportunities for individuals. I think we could thread that into that vein. Whereas this one, definitely, I appreciate the comments, was definitely focused on our workforce.
So, I mean, I think that'd be great to, those comments are very appropriate. And I think having those kinds of things under economic development makes a lot of sense. So
Same here.
if the board is in consensus with that, then
Every automotive manufacturer has training schools. They will pay for your way on that. As Kevin knows, you can't find a good mechanic anywhere.
So Rachel Downs, would you like to come up and maybe add a little bit on that? If I'm catching what you just sent me? This gets back to kind of workforce development outside of just the county government workforce.
Happy to. And I think that there was some great clarification between countywide as an internal county and then countywide as in county community. And yes, so your board may be aware that SACOG awarded Sutter County the EEI grant, and that application was a bi-county effort. And so we do intend on collaborating with Sutter County and doing that as a larger Yuba-Sutter effort to assess what are the existing workforce programs that many agencies offer, because as I believe covered in this conversation already, we're not necessarily a workforce provider. However, there are many in our community between the various Office of Education and others, and like charter schools, et cetera. But there, frankly, is a lot of duplicity across those things. And so, and furthermore, those agencies and entities are often driven by the policies of their funding sources, which are driven for individual outcomes and not always aligned with what the industry is needing. And so from from an economic development perspective, the best practice there would be to go into our community and work with our existing businesses to identify what are their needs and really come at it from a business perspective as opposed to an individual outcomes perspective, which is the current strategy. And so there is that existing effort, I guess, is all in all what I wanted to convey here, and that will be likely kicking off later this calendar year. I'm not sure if we'll necessarily hit it by the end of the fiscal year, but there is a Yuba-Sutter effort in collaboration with Sutter County. Anything else I need to cover there?
thank you, Rachel.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Any other questions or comments on that workforce development priority?
Yeah, through the chair, I'd like to make a comment since Rachel got up and spoke, let you guys know what they're doing. I had a guy call me that I know that got a contract to build several of these temporary shelters for the workers down in the LA fire area. He's been looking up here in Yuba County before. I was busy doing something. I called Jason. Jason got a hold of him, took the bull by the horn, so to speak, got in touch with Rachel. I knew where there's a property privately owned that would maybe be available and maybe possibly work for this guy. Ran into Rachel the other day at the Marysville Hotel thing, and she said, oh yeah, I met Bob out there and walked the property and gave him a list of everything to try to get him in there as soon as possible if it can work out for him. So, I don't know anywhere else you can go and as a potential business opening in a county and just make a phone call and I turn it over to these guys and they do all that stuff. And it's, it's not like they were showing him county property or anything else. It was just help him to relocate into Yuba County because he's not currently in our county. So just so you guys know, Rachel and Jason, they go above and beyond to help businesses try to get into our county.
It is one of the more functional efforts that we've ever put together. for cooperating between departments and people.
Through the chair, I just have one more question. So it kind of seems a little vague. Implement a countywide workforce development plan created by a workforce department that includes the STUBA. Is there anything that you guys would need to kind of put some teeth in this to where we can actually give this a real priority? Because like I said, when I was running for office, is everybody we can elevate internally opens up a job behind them. So it pulls somebody out of poverty. So if we're developing our workers to higher positions faster or preparing them to take over expansion because our county's always growing, that elevates everybody in the community. So to me, it's really important. I mean, not just for our personnel that are already hired here, but for the people we'll hire in the future. So I was just thinking maybe there's something that could get put in there to give it more priority or more teeth,
Supervisor House, through the chair, I can definitely empathize with that question. We've had internally our own discussions, definitely with our department heads. Some of these objectives are very broad and some of them are very specific, and we try to find the balance between the two. But definitely on this one, if you go into the priorities report and you see the updates and the next steps, you'll see that granularity on the specific things that we're doing to develop the workforce, our workforce development committee, some of the trainings we're looking to implement. You'll see that specificity in there. It's actually a very long list that's put together by Human Resources that puts that in there. If we added the really kind of hard tasks we're putting in there, the priority would be ridiculously too long. So that's where we try to find the balance between the specificity and the general overarching within the priority. But we have that struggle with all the priorities, I'll be honest with you. So we try to kind of split the difference on it, whether it is. But if you want to see that specifically, that's where you go into the report.
Yeah, I'll check the details. Sorry, I didn't look at that before this meeting.
No, and that's okay. If I could, through the chair, Tiffany, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, maybe you can give the board just a flavor of what's been going on with the Workforce Development Committee and kind of some of the things we're doing really to grow the workforce and make sure that the workforce has opportunities to grow within the organization.
Hello, Tiffany Manuel, HR Director. So the committee, the Workforce Development Committee, was established after our December 2023 Leadership Committee, and it's comprised of several different employees from across many different departments. We have been meeting fairly regularly over the past year and have been really focusing on gathering information on the workforce and what our needs are and where we want to go and what that's going to look like and how we're going to accomplish that. So we are currently working on putting together a comprehensive plan. We are focusing on just the things that you were mentioning, Supervisor House, on, not only developing staff to promote within the county, but also how do we connect with outside resources to help bring qualified candidates into the county. One of the things that we did in working with the school districts is we partnered with Marysville Joint Unified and brought in, I think it was 9 interns last summer, and they worked in various departments and learned and went right alongside county employees, and we got some great feedback from that, and the plan is to do that again this year. So there's different partnerships that we're looking at through the committee. There's academies that we're looking at revamping, and I expect that this coming fiscal year, starting this fiscal year and into next fiscal year, we'll start to see more of that actually coming to fruition. This past year, we spent a lot of time gathering and discussing. There's a lot that goes into it. There's some complexities as far as the depth that the committee was wanting to focus on, starting at the very beginning with advertising and the recruitment process and the onboarding all the way up through, promotion and succession planning and all of that. So it's a pretty detailed project that we're working on, in addition to the Yes to Yuba mindset, which we actually have a committee meeting this Thursday to really focus on that Yes to Yuba mindset and what that means. And it's a little bit of a challenge because we essentially have 20 different businesses within the county that are operating very, they're little niches. They're very independent and working towards their own unique services that they're providing. And so they have their own little mini cultures, and we're trying to figure out how do we support that, but at the same time support a countywide culture of that Yes to Yuba mindset as well. So.
Thank you, Tiffany. And then the next strategic priority, you might get to come back up.
Actually, I was going to see if she didn't want to take her seat quite yet, but definitely last but not least, as along the lines with workforce development is our organizational culture as well. Again, just some slight retooling. Any questions or comments on that last priority? And again, we're just trying to get the concept of the strategic plan rolled out to all staff levels. They're aware of it. They know what's in it. They understand the content of it, all that good stuff. All right, hearing none, definitely want to acknowledge all the work and effort that goes into the priorities report. As I mentioned earlier, you have those priority owners with those hyperlinks and the contacts for those. So definitely at your board's leisure, dive into the report, read all the next steps and the updates, and those staff are available to respond to any questions you may have. And they also definitely make some contributions to helping our office get that report together and make it a very good document to talk about what the county's priorities are, what we're working on, and have that detailed information. If they had any questions, and if there wasn't something addressed in the report specifically, they know who to talk to individually with that hyperlink. So kind of just wrapping up today, again, we touched on the strategic plan as your board adopted in 2023. We would request that the board adopt the 9 top priorities that we did outline with the one change to the infrastructure one that I noted. I've got that one notated here with that one change. Accept the priorities report. That's just an information item with your board. And then that helps us guide us as we jump into the budget process, which is about to kick off with all departments. I definitely want to appreciate all those in attendance today, staff that helped make this happen, and all those that spoke that helped us get through this presentation. So with that, any additional questions or comments from the board for your action item?
Seeing no comments or questions, if it is an action item, then is there any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. A first and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Special thanks to your board. I do appreciate all of the comments and the questions. We definitely wanted this to be an interactive process. We merely bring these to you as recommendations. We are looking for those comments, those questions, that interaction. We're just not here to check a box with this. We want it to be collaborative with your board because this does help drive the ship. So much appreciated for all the comments.
Great.
Through the chair, I just want to say thank you guys for including me in the process. I know it's tough to have somebody join in the middle of it, but thank you for listening to my comments and answering my calls and my questions as I have them. Appreciate it.
Great. So with that, we will adjourn, and we will adjourn based on the request of Supervisor House earlier. So, all right. Thanks.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
In the heart of the valley, we rise so bright, where the news flows freely in the morning light. Yuba-Sutter.live, where truth comes alive. Every Tuesday's a journey, it's where we thrive. Watch it unfold.
seen signs marking some of the gems in Marysville. They're produced by Sapphire Sign Company, providing something small, large, and mobile. With decades of experience, Sapphire Signs has pioneered local production of a variety of signs, like temporary campaign-style signs, welcomes for unique events, building signage, event promotion, and vehicle customization. Need a sign? Make it a gem from Sapphire Sign Company. On the web at sapphiremarketinggroup.net. Sapphire.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties.
In Yuba County, there's a legendary diner.
Oh, it looks delicious. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Where the parking lot tells a story. A story as simple as biscuits and gravy.
The food is good. The prices are wonderful. My dad has so many friends here that come here, and it's my dad and mom have known Mary Jane and her dad before Duke.
Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, home of legendary chili, holiday pies, and generations of local residents preparing tasty, hearty food for generations of local people. Join Mary Jane and her genial associates as they serve meals you'll come back for. Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, Olivehurst.
In Marysville, where roots run deep, McNally Appliances promises to keep the best brands with a smile on its face. We service what we sell, it's a warm embrace. Competitive pricing you can't ignore. With every purchase you'll love it more. From fridges to washers, all in a line. We install with care to make it shine. Major brands, trusted and true. McNally Appliances is here for you. Oh, McNally, we're your first choice. In Marysville, we help you rejoice. We service what we sell, no need to stress. At McNally Appliances, we're simply the best. Our promise stands, we'll always be here. McNally Appliances, bringing your cheer.
McNally Appliances, 119 D Street, Marysville. McNallyAppliances.com.
In the morning light, the cameras start to roll. Yuba-Sutter.live, watch the stories unfold. Tune in on Tuesday, the news comes alive. Yuba-Water Agency, making sure we thrive. Yuba City Council, with Marysville in view. Yuba-Sutter.live, it's the truth that comes through. Union on Tuesday, the news comes alive. Yuba-Water Agency, making sure we thrive. Yuba City Council, with Marysville in view. Yuba-Sutter.live, it's the truth that comes through. Yuba-Sutter.live, it's the truth that comes through. done alive. It's the truth that comes through.